Let's talk about the EPZ 530. For those that aren't aware, EPZ was created in 2019. That makes them a fairly new company as far as audio is concerned, but not so much when you consider that they're a chi-fi company. They're somewhat unknown in the chi-fi space, but they're making, for the most part, good stuff. What they make ranges from IEMs to dongle DACs to even true wireless buds. They also make accessories like cables and tips. This is the EPZ, or EPZ if you're Canadian, like myself, 530. This is their current flagship, but it's a couple years old now, and a new flagship is likely in the pipeline. The 530 is an all-balanced armature unit, and it uses 5 Sonion balanced armatures. It is unvented, unfortunately, so this leads to some comfort issues. As you can see, it is using that typical teardrop shape that many IEMs use. However, as this one's not vented, pressure buildup can be an issue for some people, and that includes myself. Having said that, I found that these tips, the Whizzer ET100, work excellent for preventing pressure buildup, and they're very comfortable in general. Can't recommend these tips enough. The IEMs themselves are built very well. Unlike many other IEMs that use this shell shape, these are not 3D printed. They're cut on a 5-axis CNC machine from a block of stabilized wood. They're very nice and they look great. Next, let's take a look at what you get in this very nice box. The 530 comes in a wood box with a cardboard sleeve. Some of the nicest packaging I've seen from an IEM. You remove the box, the IEMs will be here, although I've removed them obviously. You get your tips. I personally am not a fan of, well, any of these tips, so I don't use them. A little cable tie. Now the EPZ 530 does come with a modular cable. I have the cable here. The cable's fine and it's nice that it's modular, but I personally find it a bit on the rubbery side and I don't really like the colorway. I think it's a bit gaudy. Instead of the stock cable, I do use this very nice NiceHCK cable. This will be linked in the description down below. Take a look if you're interested. And of course, you do also get the IEMs. There's also a small cleaning tool. And underneath, I do believe we just have our paperwork in a small carrying bag. Some nice snacks for later. Put those in my pocket. Yeah, there you are, just some paperwork, a little bag, and then it does also come with this carrying case. That's it for the unboxing. Let's move on to the sound impressions. For the sound impressions, I'm going to start with my general impressions, and then we'll move into some notes that I took for some test songs. I'll put the graph up on screen now. This IEM is not trying to be Harman, and it's compliant with what seems to be the EPZ target. Yes, EPZ seems to have their own target. I own several IEMs from them, and they all more or less follow the same target. How many times am I going to say target? The EPZ 530 is very energetic in the center of the frequency response. To be clear, I don't mean the mids. I mean the center of the frequency response. It has a lot of mid-bass energy and a lot of mid to upper mid energy. It also has excellent treble extension, and it's a technical monster. It's a very detailed IEM with good and orbital stage. It has excellent layering and imaging, and it's highly resolving. My only nitpick with this IM is that I do wish it had a bit more sub-bass. It's a mid-bass focused IM and the sub-bass rolls off a bit. I tend to like sub-bass, so it's a bit of a problem for me. It is an all BA IM, but there's effectively no BA timbre. Next, we're going to look at its compliance with my own target. Yes, I have developed my own target. I'll be talking more about this target in a housekeeping video I make in the near future, but all you need to know is it's the average of about 6 IMs that I really love. The only changes I've made to it after averaging those IMs is a bit of a boost in the bass and deepening the dips in the treble for sibilance purposes. The EPZ 530 is not quite compliant with my target. It has a lot more sub-bass and a bit more upper mid energy with much better treble extension. Although it's not compliant with my target, I do really enjoy this IEM, but like I said before, I do wish for a bit more sub-bass. For my song tests, I have a playlist of about 65 songs that are songs I know well and have listened to often. They're not necessarily the most well mixed and mastered songs, but they get the job done for my testing purposes. I won't talk about every single song in my lineup, but any that stood out to me, I have taken notes for. For the most part, most of the songs I listen to are really just a matter of sounds good, no comments. But anything that stuck out that was either good or bad is what I've highlighted here. So I'm just going to rapid fire through these. Feel free to skip if you're not really interested in listening to this. The first song is Clear by Mothika. Sub-bass line is audible but is not brain massaging. Orbital stage is evident, as Mothika is positioned in multiple places around the head. Great separation between individual song elements. Next is Jack Daniels by Lil Darky and Wendigo. It's a loud song which really pushes dynamics. Despite aggressive and loud mid-bass lines, lots of small subtle sounds are still clearly defined. Most IMs struggle with this song, and the 530 eats it for lunch. Sweet Talk by Same Old Tell. The bass line is audible and detailed. Instruments sound like they are physically behind the vocalist. Freak Like Me by Nambi. This is where that good resolution becomes evident. Leading edge of snare drum and hi-hat hits is very clear. Bass does not bleed into mids. Left for Dead by Kiki Rockwell. Kiki's voice often exists in this weird black hole of IEM frequency responses. There's very few IEMs that she doesn't sound recessed on. The 530 almost gets it right, but she's still somewhat overpowered by the instruments around her. Cigarette by Shia Zamora. Again, not really sure why, but many lesser IEMs struggle with the song. Kind of suffers from the same black hole effect as Kiki Rockwell, and something about how this song is mixed causes the instruments to really overpower the vocals, but the 530 handles it very well. Lunch by Billie Eilish. ASMR-like presentation of the backup singers, which is just Billie layered on top of herself. Some IEMs struggle to pick that up at all. Give It To Me by the Northern Boys. This song is, I'm not really sure why it's in my test list, but it's a dumb loud song and it's good for testing sibilance. I find myself wanting a bit more sub-bass, and the 530 can be a little sibilant on certain S noises. Otherwise, not a great showing by the 530 here. Chokehold by Sleep Token. It's a noisy technical song at times, but the EPZ keeps it together. All song elements remain clearly defined. Vocalist sounds a tad recessed. Fluorescent Adolescent by the Arctic Monkeys. Very clear separation between elements, with great detail in each element. Underground by Missio. I just find myself wishing for more sub-bass. Good otherwise. Ode to a Conversation, Stuck in Your Throat by Del Water Gap. The song can sound a bit compressed on some IEMs, but sounds natural on the 530. Left Hand Free by Alt J. Vocalist is a tad shouty, no comments otherwise. High and Lonesome by Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. Robert Plant sounds a tad recessed, and this seems to be a little bit of a trend with male vocalists. Sounds great otherwise. Live Well by Palace. Again, vocalist is a tad shouty, but also somehow behind the instrumentals. Homesick by Rude Cat. Really loud and busy song. Doesn't really sound correct on anything. EPZ 530 makes a good showing, but still doesn't do it quite right. Hypothermic by Goodnight Texas. Really felt like I had to crank this one on the 530 to enjoy it. Do with that as you will. Lofty Cries by Purity Ring, not really any comments, but some very minor sibilants. Look Who's Crying Now by Jesse Murph. Sounds great. On some IMs, the vocalist can sound a bit strained or metallic, but this does not occur on the 530. That's it for sound impressions. Next I'll just move on to some brief comparisons. Now for comparison, I have the Audiosense T800. I've done a review on this one, although it was a bit vague. I'll likely be redoing that one. I also have the IvipQ Conch V11. Both of these IEMs are all BA IEMs, although the Conch and the T800 are 8 balanced armatures, while the EPZ is only 5. Both the T800 and the Conch employ a vented base BA, while the EPZ is fully sealed, as I said. Let's start with the V11. Now the V11, to sound its best, needs an 80 ohm impedance adapter. Now with the 80 ohm impedance adapter, it does become a bass-heavy IEM. It's more focused on sub-bass than the 530, with much smoother treble. Both IEMs are quite technical and detailed, although the 530 is a league above, and it has much better stage compared to the V11. The V11 is, I would say, complementary, not necessarily worse. The V11 is good for laid-back listening without a need for much technical prowess. I really struggled through that, didn't I? V11 also has pretty good timbre, but I would say the 530 takes a bit of a win here as well. For the T800 is a very different IEM for the other two. While it is bassy, much like the V11, its bass is much more dynamic-like, with a lot of weight behind the bass hits. It's also not nearly as technical as either of them, and the timbre is a bit off. That said, the T800 is a very old IEM, and it makes a good showing here. But I'd only recommend it over one of these if you really just want that big bass. That sums it up for comparisons, and I think that's all I have to say about the 530. In conclusion, it's a really good IEM. I don't feel like I've wasted my hard-earned money on it, and it might be the best one in my collection at the moment. It is old, so I'm looking forward to whatever EPZ has coming next. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Bye. I meant to give the 530 a simple rating, and then I forgot. I haven't established a real rating system yet, but I think it's just going to be thumbs down, whoa, I'm zoomed in the middle, thumbs up, and 2 thumbs up. I didn't really need to demonstrate that, did I? Anyway, I give the 530 2 thumbs up.